Hi, this is Lisa with Queen Bee Creations. Welcome. I'm going to apologize right in advance because the neighbor next door is building a fence. And so if the dogs start barking, I apologize. There's nothing I can do about it. But hopefully they behave because we're going to make a cute card today. We're going to be making this card right here, which looks pretty simple, but it's got a little bit of extra in that you open it up and it's just got a partial front, and then it's got this little gift card holder at the bottom. So we're going to make this one today. We are still playing around with the bottled happiness from the 2022-2023 annual catalog. So welcome. Get back to where I can see a few things. So feel free to comment if you're here watching replay. Please type in hashtag replay. If you're here watching live, I would like you to please type in hashtag prize patrol, because that's going to get you into a drawing where you can possibly win today's card. That I would pop that in the mail to you if you win prize patrol. And I've got it all queued up. Here's our card. Okay, my computer gave me some weird notice in the corner. I'll worry about that later, right? So here's my desktop. And because it's a simple card and someone had said that they liked it when I do the cutting on camera, I'm going to do that today. So I've just got my regular old pieces of paper. I've got my 8.5 by 11. Let's see. Got my trimmer. I have a couple 6x6 out of the designer series paper. This one was done in Starry Sky. This one here we're going to do in Orchid. I want to call it Orchid Opulence. That's not it. Orchid Oasis. They named the card very similarly to a color we had in the past, and I'm having trouble adjusting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this the long way. So I'm going to cut this at 5.5 on the short side. So it doesn't really give you a leftover piece. You know, normally it's cut in half, score in half. But because of the little pocket we're making, I'm doing this the long way. It's 5.5 by 11. And then I'm going to come in here and score this at 4.25. So that's going to give me my standard size. I'm going to score that again. I'm going to put the score line on the 4.25 and give it a second score. And so this is going to be the part that folds over and holds our gift card. Okay. But I wanted a partial front. So on the front of this card, what I did was I cut it at halfway, which was 2 3/4. So I'm going to put this back in my trimmer, and I'm going to put this down at 2 3/4. And I'm going to cut till the second score line, because I want my back of the card to be whole, right? I'm kind of peeking to see when I'm going to run into that score line, because I don't really want to go over it. I just want to go up to it. Okay, now I'm going to turn and I'm going to cut it off. So I'm going to put the score line in my trimmer, and that's going to cut this off. Okay, and I've got a little teeny little hitch in the corner there. I'm going to grab that with snips. It looks like I need to clean my track. Yep, bunches of fuzz in there. A lot of you will see when it gets like this, you think, oh, I need a new trimmer blade. And yes, sometimes you might. But there's also times when you just need to clear out the track. And the way I do that is I just take a piece of scrap paper and I come down the track and just clean out all this little lint and fuzz. And oftentimes that will fix it. If it doesn't, it needs a new blade. But we like to wait off as long as we can on those so that we're not, I don't want to say wasting money, but spending money unnecessarily, right? If you do come up to where you have some of this and it bothers you, a piece of fine sandpaper or an emery board, a fingernail file, that'll knock that off very easily. But this is going to be our card front. This is an old sanding block I have from Stampin' Up back in the 90s. They don't sell it anymore, but I still find it very handy. But like I said, if you haven't, everybody seems to have a nail file laying around somewhere, right? Hi, Susan. Hi, Nancy, Amy, Melinda, all my favorite people here joining us. Helene, looks like you spelled Prize Patrol wrong. So if Helene, if you can put that in one more time and spell it correctly. I want to make sure because the computer picks those up. I don't, and the computer's finicky. So I don't want you to miss out on a typo. So, okay, now we're going to go on to the next piece. On the inside of our card, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this designer series paper as the whole thing, and then I'm going to set the die cut over the top of it. This is die cut using the scalloped contours dies. These go with the color and contour flowers. It's a pretty set. I mean, I bought it. But I think I use these dies a whole lot more than I use the stamp set. So remember that, a lot of people tend to store their dies with the coordinating stamp set. They'll put a piece of magnetic thing in here and store them together. And that's great. But sometimes you can use the dies without using the stamp set, such as these rectangles. I use them a lot. So that's why mine are stored separate. These little pockets come from Stampin' Storage. I am an affiliate for them. Their links are on my blog. I get a little thank you from them if you purchase through me. It doesn't cost you any extra, but these are great for storing the dies. They sell the little magnetic cards, and then they sell the pockets they go into as well. But back to our card. This piece is going to be our standard layer. So I'm going to cut that at 4 inches by 5 1/4. I'm sorry, I need to measure at the bottom because I can see 5 1/4 better down here. 5 1/4 falls somewhere in there. Without extending it, I can't see it. Okay, so then this we know is 4 1/4 wide. And 2 3/4 tall. So I'm going to take a 1/4 off each way. So it's going to be 4 by 2 1/2. Yes, Jan, that's why I do it. I use my dies for things other than what they go with. Sometimes there's a little bow in a set that I will use with other things. It's great. But, when they were all in the packages that Stampin' Up gets them, you can't see the top. So I needed some kind of little, I don't know, tab so that when they're sitting in there, they're alternating. So I can set them in my little rolling cart. They're in the top of a 3-tier rolling cart from IKEA. And I can see all of the names without having to flip through it too hard. Okay, so there's that piece. Now, what I want is I want a piece that's going to go behind the scalloped rectangle. So that piece is 3 1/2 by 4 3/4. I think that's going to be wide enough. No, that's only 3. Okay, I'm still a little rough, so I definitely need a new blade. The blades are easy to pop in and out of here as long as you remember that it's up here. There's a little opening where it's a little bit larger, and that's where the things go in and out. We do sell them in a pack of 4. And that's it. You'll also notice on my trimmer that I have put a piece of tear-in tape behind the numbers. It's just the one side. I never peeled off the backing, but the tear-in tape being there makes that ruler a whole lot easier for me to read. So might be a little tip you might like. All right. I think I have all my pieces cut. Who's ready to stamp? Hi, Deb. Okay, here's the stamp set we're using. It is called Bottled Happiness. It's a 2-step stamping, which means that we would stamp one and then stamp the other on top of it in 2 different colors. So it's one image, but there's 2 stamps so that you can apply your 2 different colors much more easily. There we go. Digging for the right size block. Okay. So I'm going to do my stamping on these things here. So on the outside, we're going to do the flowers, and then we're going to do the bottle. Now, I did the bottle just raised on dimensionals, and I just colored it in. I didn't do any stamping. You could totally stamp this. You could maybe just stamp the outline, because it, again, is a 2-step stamping. It has the bottle itself, and then it has this outline edge that can be stamped over it. Or you can use the little blister things, the shakers. Am I losing the name for it? But the little bottle domes that would hold the little beads. We have these little bubble things that could go inside and look like water, which is great if you're hand delivering it. But if you're going to be sending it through the mail, having those little blister things on them is going to make them cost extra postage. So just a little something to consider. Let's go ahead and stamp our flowers. So I think I'm going to stamp the leaves first. So I'm going to bring in my Granny Apple Green. I like this as a green leaf a little better than Parakeet Party, but you could definitely use that as well, or, you know, any of our greens. But just looking at it, I wanted you to know that it wasn't the in color that you might think it is. This is indeed Granny Apple Green. So I went ahead and I stamped just the leaves. Now we have this second one that's going to stamp over the top. And you may be wondering, okay, how am I going to line that up? Well, how we're going to line that up is we're going to look for the centers of the flowers. So this would be something great to do in the Stamparatus, to have the piece in there, line up your image, and then have it on the upper piece so that it could be perfectly centered. I tend to not do that on camera a lot. I don't know why. I think my camera is so close, I don't want to hit it. But this would be a perfect thing for the Stamparatus. If you do not have one of those, you can do this by hand. But the best thing to do is to ink it up and then look straight down from the top. So I'm going to bring this closer to me. And I'm going to look straight down at it and try to align those flower centers. And there we go. Not too bad. I think this should have been 3 sets, or 3 stamps, because I don't like the middle of the flowers being green, but the leaves have to be green. So if you don't like them being green in the center, you can ink up your stamp using the markers. You don't use the alcohol markers. Those are bad for your stamp, but use the Stampin' Write markers. You would use the brush tip end, and you could apply the ink with that instead, and then your centers could be the proper color. Okay, this bundle comes with a punch instead of dies, which makes this really easy to work with. I'm just going to feed this in here, and I'm going to go ahead and punch it in the center. Okay, so you'll notice that this did some of my flowers. So I'm going to be able to put it back in there, but I thought I would take one of my Stampin' Write markers and put some stems down into the bottle. And so I'm just going to use the straight edge on my ruler because I'm not really good at going freehand. I should be, but I always say I'm crafty. I'm not really artistic, so I can't do this without assistance. So anyway, we'd put several stems going into the water, and then because it's water, I brought out our alcohol blends, and I'm going to go ahead and put dark on the bottom. And I'm doing it this way so that I can get a little bit on the edge. Since it's going to be raised up on dimensionals, the edge will get seen. So I want a little bit of blue on there. And then I'm going to come in with the light. And then I'm going to go over it. Okay, so now I've filled our little bottle with water. One of the things you could do if you wanted it to look more like glass is you can could take a piece of the acetate, the window sheet, and punch that out and put it over the top. And I would probably use adhesive sheet on the back or something that was continuous glue all the way across. Maybe get the liquid glue and spread it really, really thin, and then set this over the top and give it time to dry. Because you would not want to see the little bumps of where you had added your glue. But it can look like a bottle. You can also use the crystal effects that could go over it as well, only this takes a long time to dry. If you put crystal effects on something, I usually let it dry overnight. But there's lots of ways we can make it look like a bottle. We're going to set that layer on top of that. Oh, looks like I got it a little small, didn't I? Okay. Let's see what this is. Yeah, see, I did 3.5 by 4.5. It should have been 3.5, right? Yeah, 3.5 by 4.75, 4 3/4. Oh, and now I'm not going to, I was thinking it's going to be a glued down layer, but we're going to see the back side of that one, aren't we? Okay, 3.5. Now I'm not going to throw those other pieces that I cut away because they can still be used, just can't necessarily be used on this card. So that's why I save all my little scraps in those little folders so that I can store them with the color. So when I go to use it again, they are handy. Okay. So I'm just putting regular adhesive on the back of this, centering it in this panel. And then I'm going to put my bottle back in here. But I want it to pop a little bit. So I'm going to put dimensionals underneath. I'm using the little ones because I know I want one up top in the neck and the big ones won't fit. And there we go. There's our little 3D bottle that still fits through the mail. Okay. So now we can start assembling the rest of the card. I'm using the same color out of the same designer series pack, but I'm using 2 different patterns that will complement each other, but not be exactly the same. So I've got my polka dots on the outside and the flowers on the inside. And then in order to make this the pocket that's going to hold the gift card, I'm going to take my punch here and I'm going to cut out a little, I don't know what I want to call this, a little thumb grabber, a little opening so that when I put the gift card in there, there's a way to grab it. Now, this gift card has the word thank you on it, and I wanted to kind of see it. So this one I did cut down shorter. I think I took 1 inch off of it just because I wanted to be able to read the card, but you can't read all of it anyway. But this one works as well, just leaving it at the 11 inches. It'll fit right in there. And so to keep it a pocket and not have it interfere, what I did was I put tear and tape down the sides, and I kept it as close to the edge as I could get so that it left me as much room in there as possible to finagle and get the card in. Okay. Oops, with the other end. This is our take your pick tool. If you don't have one of these, you want to add that to your cart. These are fabulous and work great for taking the back of the tear and tape off, among other things. Oops. Come on. This does slide in there, I promise. There we go. Okay, so then this one, what I want to do is I want to center this on the front of our card, but I don't want to glue it shut. So I want to make note that I'm only going about halfway down, and I want all of my adhesive below this line. So, I mean, that's going to be plenty to hold it on there. And then I'm just going to hover over and center it, and then just push down. So there's the front. And then I have the inside is another one of our scalloped rectangles. And I'm going to go ahead and stamp our message on the inside there. So we'll get back with our Orchid Oasis and the sentiment. This one says sending a little message. This one says overflowing with happiness. Little tiny one says why not, sending cheer, and let's get into the spirit. So several choices. I lined it up on my grid paper to get the words straight. I figure if the words are straight on the grid line, my block is straight on the grid line, my paper is straight on the grid line, we're going to be straight, right? Oh, yes, Peggy. I was telling somebody earlier you went a little fast with the typing and missed one. You want Prize Patrol with the R in there. And if you're on Facebook, I need you to give StreamYard permission for me to see your name. That's how it's going to catch it. The computer pulls Prize Patrol out of the comments by itself. So if it's spelled wrong, it doesn't catch it. So I'm not being cranky. I'm just trying to help you out so that you get your name in there. So far, we have 13 entries. Did y'all see my box on Monday? I did a little box that holds a wine bottle. Very cute. You're going to want to check that out. But there is today's card. So see, only took half an hour. And I do lots of talking. But that's a card / gift card holder. They can be done with, any number of stamp sets, any number of colors. I'm always telling you that. Okay, thank you, Nancy. If your name comes up, it'll still pop up as long as you have hashtag Prize Patrol in there before I spin. This was undecorated, but this is the box we did Monday. It will hold a bottle of wine on the inside. And then I have a couple other cards that I also did that I wanted to show you. This is went on my blog on Monday. And somebody had asked how I made this hold it shut. And all I did was I put Stampin' Dimensionals under here. I made sure that the Stampin' Dimensionals were touching the card front, but not touching this little panel. So the panel can pull out and go behind there. And that raised section is what holds it closed. Okay. Trying to get you guys to see without tearing it apart. Let's see how it's raised only on the bottom with the dimensionals. That's how that stays shut. And this is the Butterfly Designer Series paper, but I thought it matched really well with these flowers. This is another one I did. This one is using the tailor-made tags, and this tag is actually longer than they come in the pack. What I did was I set it in the white paper in my cut and emboss machine, and I put my top plate on it, but only like this far, letting the top stick out. So then when I went to do the upper half, I just moved the die up, and that time only put the plate over that part. So it allowed me to change the size of my die. And then for just kind of an interesting background, I punched out several of the bottles in the same color that I mounted them on. So they're just stuck down with seal. They're not really 3D, but they do give you that interesting background look. And then my final card was this one. This is a slimline card. And I'm going to put some kind of sentiment on it. I was playing around with the masking paper and I punched out a bottle. I stamped my first bottle and then I put the piece I had punched out over the top of this, stamped the bottle, and then moved it down the line so that each time I was covering up this bottle to stamp this one, covering up this bottle to stamp that one, and went all the way down the line and got this row of bottles that reminded me of something of when I was a kid. My dad used to make wine and I loved it when he would, wash all the bottles out and, he'd get them all clean and he'd set them on the railing on our back deck. And so I had to dig through some photos after I made this, and I actually found a photo. And it's kind of dark, so you can't totally see it in this light, but that's how they all looked to me in my mind, was all lined up on the railing of our deck like that. So it was kind of fun to bring back a memory with that. And then while I had this out, I wanted to show you another thing we can do. Let's see, somewhere here is the bottle. There we go. Grab some paper. We will get to the prize patrol in a moment, I promise. But I wanted to show you, we have been all along masking something in that we cover up what we did. But this time I'm going to stamp our, and I'm going to just pick colors. You probably wouldn't do it in these colors, but let's see. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stamp. This is Pool Party. And I'm going to put our bottle there. And then I'm going to take the masking paper and I'm going to do it in reverse. Okay, so normally we would be covering up the bottle, but now we're covering up what goes around it. And then we can come in with another one of our stamps. Say these flowers. And stamp over the top. Oh, probably should have put this up against my shirt or something and prepped it a little because it's sticking. But the idea is that we can decorate the bottle by masking the outside. So has anybody thought of reverse masking before? I mean, and you could do a neater job if you were paying more attention. Like I said, I'm just trying to show you something quick, kind of after the thought. So, and then I also want to point out this set is out of our annual catalog, but there's an additional set in the mini catalog that makes that bottle punch go even further. Let's see if I can find it quickly. Probably not, right? But there's another bottle set in here. Here we go. So these stamps can be used with the same bundle. So then you would have two stamp sets that will go with the one punch, which I like that they're trying to take, something we already own and add to it and make it more useful, which is another thing they're doing with our celebration. And I wanted to show you that next week I'll be working with this die set, this tree lot dies, and it coordinates with something in the annual catalog. Page 157. catalog 157. That's not right. It's okay. Cut and emboss machine there. There we go. Coordinates with that one. I'm looking at the wrong numbers. Don't mind me. Page 39. There we go. That's what I was looking for. This stamp set, it's designed here to be used just as a stamp set, and it has the coordinating embossing folder, but this die set goes with it as well. See, the little dog will punch him out and the little trees. So it can be used by itself, or it can be used with that stamp set. And I'm going to be using it next week by itself because I didn't get the stamp set, because I thought I can just do the trees by cutting these two out of different colored cardstock. And I'm going to take this little trailer on Monday, and we're going to make it 3D. I'm going to have I made one and I can't find it, but typical, right? But it's going to have a little gap in the middle so that you can set something inside and have a trailer on this side and a trailer on that side. So I will find that. I will take a picture of it, and it will be my upcoming live on Monday. And so there will be a picture in my preview of what that's going to look like, because I'm sure the minute I turn the camera off, I'll find it. But I know you're all sticking around waiting for Prize Patrol. So let me get to it and give this thing a spin. Okay, I want to make sure I'm not losing my microphone, because I have to have my face on there for the microphone to work. But we're ready to draw. So there we go. Gloria is our winner. Congratulations, Gloria. You will get the card that we made today sent in the mail to you. You can choose whether or not you want the one in Starry Sky or Orchid Oasis. You can pick from either of those. Come on, give me my cursor back. So just let me know what color you would like, the light or the dark, and I will pop that in the mail. I probably don't have your address, so if you can go to queenbeecreations.net/prize patrol and fill out the claim form, then I will have your address and can pop that in the mail. So again, thank you for joining me. I appreciate you being here and commenting and hanging out with me. We will be back on Thursday at 2:30 with another online class. Oh, we are Thursday. Monday. We're here Mondays and Thursdays at 2:30. And Monday we'll be playing around with the dies and making the little trailer. So thank you. See you later.